Hey everybody, it's Minister Kenita Smith here, and this week's pearl is God will give way for your fear. Now listen, I know that when we talk about fear, we talk about the fact that God has not given us a spirit of fear. But God still plans for everything that we deal with in our life. He even plans for our decisions, He plans for our sin, and I believe He even gives way for our fear. And what gives me that unction or that thought is that when I read Judges chapter 7, when we talk about the story of Gideon. And we know the story about him using 300 men to defeat the Midianites and God getting the glory from that. But when you look into the details of that story, there were thousands upon thousands of soldiers, right? And they were all at Fear Spring. Now catch that. They were at Fear Spring. And God told Gideon, hey, ask the men who's afraid. We're at Fear Spring. Who's afraid? And everybody who's afraid, tell them they can go home. And the Bible said it was thousands of men that went home. I mean, tens of thousands of men that went home. And God said, I still can't do what I want to do through your army with this many men. So I needed to get even smaller because I want to get the glory. I'm going to fight for you. And so they get to another area, and he says to test them and see who's drinking the water a certain way, who's drinking it like a dog, and then who's taking it up in their hands and drinking it. And he chose the 300 that was taking it up in their hands and drinking it. And then after God had given all this confirmation to Gideon, he still knew that Gideon was afraid. And he said to Gideon, hey, if you are afraid, I want you to go down to the Midianite camp and listen to the soldiers. And as you hear them, you'll have the strength to fight. You'll have the courage you need. Because God already knew Gideon's still afraid. He don't know what I'm getting ready to do through him. So Gideon goes and he listens to the story of the Midianites. And they're having this, a couple of soldiers talking, and they're talking about this dream one of them had. And the dream essentially basically was interpreted to have given Israel the victory over their camp. And when Gideon heard it, he said, oh, I'm going to go back to my soldiers. He went back to the soldiers and said, go and surround the army and make noise. And on a certain trumpet sound, do this. And God's going to give us over this army. And so he did that. And God had the army and the soldiers of the Midianites fighting each other. And he got the glory. So he's preparing for your fear. Whatever it is that he's giving you the word about, and you're still asking God, are you still planning to do this? And he said it over and over again, but you still need confirmation. This right here is your confirmation that he's given way for your fear. And whatever it is that he said he is going to do through you, you wouldn't be who you were. You wouldn't really be yielded to God if you weren't afraid that, what if I don't do this right? Or what if I didn't hear God right? But you have heard him right. He is going to do this through your life. And you can use this pearl as your confirmation to start moving and do what God has told you to do, because it's going to give you courage. It's going to give you the strength you need, and you will see his hand. So this week, I want you to be encouraged that he's working in even the fearful places that you have, and he's giving way for your fear. I will see you all next week, and I hope that this encouraged you to step out and do what God has called you to do.